All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Is Mr. Hunterline here? All right, guys. So today I'm going to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make in their first 1 to 2 years in business. You know what? For purposes, let's just talk about the first year in business, or when they're in the planning process, because the planning process could take a while, right? So let's get right into it. One of the first things I see new entrepreneurs make is that they take their side hustle and they use their side hustle to go into a full-time business. Now, let me be clear. That's actually kind of sometimes how it starts. But one of the things you have to do and to make sure is that your side hustle, can the side hustle pay all of your bills and all of your expenses? Can the side hustle keep you busy for 20 to 40 hours a week? Do you make so much money in the side hustle where the side hustle will allow you to pay your rent, pay your Con Edison, take your kids on a family trip, pay for any kind of repairs? Is it enough to a point where you can leave your full-time job and turn your side hustle into a business? Now, too many times, that's one of the parts that a lot of people don't understand. Now, you can get hot, meaning you could have a great week, you could have a great month, and heck, you can have a great year. But is that year sustainable? And that's the question a lot of entrepreneurs have to ask themselves. Now, as you go through this video, obviously you guys may not work in transportation like I do, but I want you to connect it to your very own aspirations. If entrepreneurship and owning a small business is where you guys want to do, where you guys want to go. When I first started Hunterline Express, I used to work on an app called TaskRabbit, and you guys can do some research on what TaskRabbit is. TaskRabbit was one of those platforms that connected me to small businesses, construction sites, restaurants. I had all kind of opportunities from there, and to be honest, I killed it. I was really doing well. So yeah, sorry. So I was doing really well. In fact, in that first year of TaskRabbit, man, it was one of the most exciting opportunities I've ever had. Every time I came home, I put my earnings and my expenses in the books, and I started to ask myself, is this something that I could do full time? And I really didn't have all of the information right then and there. So I realized that my summer months were better than my spring months. My spring months were better than my winter months. And then my winter months may have been better than my fall months. But at least I had data to tell me when I was going to be hot and when I was going to be cold. And that's the kind of research you need to have before you guys make the jump ship onto making this whole thing full time. With that said, over time, I had completed over 500 deliveries. I moved washing machines. I've moved sofas, mattresses. I've done deliveries in walk-ups, commercial buildings, stores. I did all of them, all the way to the point where I had enough clients, I had the truck, I had the capital to go ahead and make the shift. Now, I enjoyed my journey as a safety manager and working in the safety space. And I'm still a safety manager, to be honest with you. I just don't do it full time. But I really, really enjoyed that space. But I said, hey, you know what? I think it's time for me to kind of spread my wings, and it's time for me to move on. And it was time for me to move on after I collected and after I did all of my research. So one of the first mistakes that entrepreneurs make in their first year or so or during the planning phase is that they believe that they can turn a side hustle into a business. You guys can think about that. All right. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the second one. All right, guys. The next mistake that new entrepreneurs make in their first 1 to 2 years or leading into the process is not having the right or a certain amount of equipment and supplies. Now, I learned early on, well, to be honest, I've learned from all of the experience that I told you about, that customers expect you to be very, very professional. That means they expect you to be on time. They expect you to have all of the right equipment and supplies. And they expect you to be ready to go from start to finish. And that's why it's important to have all of the right supplies and tools and utensils. Now, looking at my business, I work in transportation. One of my, well, the most important supply or equipment is this truck. And I'll do like a little circle view of this truck. I have a high roof Sprinter van that can hold about 6,000 pounds of freight. That's a lot of weight to do local deliveries. And I feel pretty good about that one. Now, I only do about 2,500 pounds, 3,000. That's all I want to do, to be honest. But at the end of the day, I actually have the equipment to do that delivery. Now, I got hand trucks, bags, cones, helmets. I got safety vests, dollies. I got tie-down trucks. There's nothing I do not have to perform my duties as a small business owner. Now, picture yourself if you were in the food business, right? You need to have a kitchen, a grill, you need to have coverings, you need to have an apron, a hat. There's so many things. My business is small and it's very up to scale. So I don't need to spend a certain amount of money on equipment. But the most important part is that I do have my equipment to fulfill the job that's given to me. So, new entrepreneurs, when you guys are out there, that is an expense. Whether you want to buy it used, brand new, at the end of the day, you need to have all of the equipment and supplies to fully do your job. And that's one of the mistakes that I see a lot of you new guys do, is that you don't have what it takes to actually do the job. All right. So the next mistake that new entrepreneurs make is the refusal to put in the sweat equity. And you know what? Entrepreneurship is a job that's 24/7. That's right. When you go home, you can ask any entrepreneur this. When you go home, you're still looking at your phone, You're still looking at trends. You're still reading emails. You're still doing anything and everything it takes to bring your business revenue. As an entrepreneur, you have to network. You have to have a system of invoicing. You have to do everything you can to market. If you have staff, you have to run your staff. Literally, I can go on and on and on through that list, but it's a 24/7 process. Now, let's say staff is down or staff is on vacation. Guess who has to step in and do some of the dirty work? You. And a lot of things, a lot of concepts like that is something that entrepreneurs don't understand. When you're working a 9 to 5 job, essentially every aspect of the company is covered by an individual or a system. When you're working as an entrepreneur, every aspect of the company essentially is run by you. I can guarantee you that most entrepreneurs quit or leave the industry when the momentum starts to pick up. And that means they're essentially just getting overwhelmed. But ironically, when the momentum picks up, that's when you actually have to be your best. You have to wake up early. You have to stay late. You have to show up on time, and you have to show why your business is profitable. There are no shortcuts here. And in my opinion, success comes within. What you put into the business, your sweat and your equity that you put into it, is exactly what you're going to get out of it. Let this be a lesson learned. Entrepreneurship requires hard earned work. All right. The next mistake that entrepreneurs make is choosing the wrong people to work with. Your support staff, your support staff, the people you interview, the people you're trying to network with, all of those people, right? Because there's like a underlying meaning where your employees or the people you work with can either help you make money, right? They can help you to make money, or they can cause you to lose a lot of money. Now, I got a story that I shared in one of my earlier videos. I won't go into the full details, but I was once working with this guy, right? I hired him to do some deliveries, and he was great, right? He was great. A couple issues here and there, but he was great. Fast forward a little bit, I felt like he was ready for a bigger job. So I gave him a bigger job. It was going to require a little bit more hours, but the pay at the end was very, very good. After watching and looking at the time, I kept asking myself, why isn't he done? And the reason why he wasn't done was because he wasn't executing the proper plan. Okay? He had a moving job to do, and he didn't follow all of the instructions that we went over the night before. He just decided to go off on his own tangent and do something. And because of that situation, he cost me arguably the biggest contract I've ever had as a full-time owner of Hunter Line Express. And still to this day, this was like, I think 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago maybe, still to this day, I still think about it. and what this company would have been and where we would have gone if I only made the right choice in maybe choosing someone else or giving him more training or going over expectations. But that's a big mistake. You do not want to trust everybody that you work with. Who you work with is a reflection of you, your company, your brand, all of it. So before you guys hire someone, a family member, a friend, or a referral, dig deep. Dig deep into their experience, dig deep into their knowledge, dig deep into their ability to follow instructions. Because you don't want to go through what I went through, and I'm still thinking about it 5 years from today. All right. All right. And the last mistake that I wanted to share that entrepreneurs make is arguably one of the most important. Entrepreneurs, especially those guys who are new, spend too much money, too much of their earned revenue. I'll give you guys just a little monetary example, right? If you make $2,000 a month, okay? Let's say you make $2,000 a month. That doesn't mean that you spend $2,000 of your earnings, okay? Now, remember, as an entrepreneur, your earnings go to your rent, your children, your bills, everything in the whole wazoo. Now, once everything is paid for, you're going to have money that's left over. And the question is, what do you do with the money and the earnings that's left over? Well, what I do is that I invest, okay? I already have an emergency fund, I have a CD, and I'm heavily invested into the stock market. Now, I'm not going to give you guys the rundown of all of my stocks, ETF, and mutual funds, but I can tell you, though, that the extra money, the leftover money that I have, because we all have them, right? The leftover money that I have, it goes to the Fidelity Total Market Index Fund, and I also invest in some international ETFs as well, mutual funds as well. Again, I got other stocks. I don't want to go too much into that, but most of my extra earnings goes to the U.S. Total Market Index Fund and also an international index fund. Why? Because that's how we make our money work for us, and that's how it works for us overnight. So to you guys who are just starting out as entrepreneurs, congratulations, okay? You've established yourself. You said, hey, look, you want to dive deep into this, but you have to understand that these are the 5 essential mistakes that people make. I hope you guys, if you guys forgot, go back to the beginning of the video and then you guys can understand. Remember, your extra money should be working for you. Do not go around and splash, okay? If I have a repair, I'm going to fix my repair. Gas, I'm going to go get gas, blah, 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 blah. But that extra money, once again, it gets invested, and that's the money that's working for me. Now, if I have an awesome and a great month, kudos to me. If I have a basic month, kudos to me. If I kind of break even in a month, at the end of the day, that's not a bad thing to do. But at least that I have that extra money to invest. All right, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning into my channel. It's Mr. Hunterline here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, I'll see you soon.